Hi friends! In our time together today, I'm introducing scale exercise 35 for us to play on our low and high D whistles. Actually on any key of a low, high, or mezzo whistle, so long as you follow the tabs on the music and tabs. Speaking of which, I'll add a link at the top of the notes to this video so that you could download the music and tabs for this exercise. And for the walkthrough of the exercise, I'm using the Carry tenor D. This is a beautiful, maybe the least expensive, best introductory low D whistle from a cost for value standpoint. And I'll put a link as to where you could pick one up. This is the original version. The newer version has a thinner head, and I'm assured the tonal qualities aren't different, so I've not changed mine out to the different head. I'll walk us through the exercise standing so that you can see my hands. We'll talk about how to use the exercise, which is really talking also about the value of the exercise, because exercises are so helpful. If we go through exercises, then when we're ready to do something like playing a tune, playing the tune will be easier so long as we've exercised. Like everything else in life, right? Anyway, so we'll talk about using this exercise to develop your skills. And it's interesting because for me, this exercise was actually birthed out of working on that reel I introduced last week, the cup of tea. It's a beautiful reel, and I'm going to share one of my practice sessions really soon, but there's so much to do. And so as I was working on the reel, I thought, there's so much here. This is so good. I'm going to make a scale exercise out of that. So the reel starts off, and I'm just taking that first portion of a phrase. The reel starts off. And I am changing that last note because the reel is moving from the repeated E to the F sharp to the G in the next section of that phrase. But I wanted to just go back to the next note down to do the next phrase. So I went back up. You'll see. That's why it doesn't sound exactly the same, but that's unimportant. And when I walk through the scale exercises, I often tongue the repeated notes. Today I might tongue some repeated notes. I might throw like a really light cut in or a really light tap just as a demonstration of some of what I'm going to say in using this exercise. So first, the exercise in D, that is with two sharps, the F sharp and the C sharp. So that's the exercise with two sharps. I decided to start on the F sharp because it felt like you'd walk through enough notes. Now, here's the exercise with one sharp. And I'm starting on the E. All right, that's both exercises. So let's think about using the exercise. So the first thing, since this is a reel, this is a set of phrasing that has descending run, hitting 2 repeated notes, and then you're walking up, descending run, repeated notes, walking up. And then when I turn and walk back up, it is ascending run, repeated notes, walk up, ascending run. And so you've got the opportunity to really work on your pace. Now, it's not just pace without ornamentation. You have a great opportunity to work on pace with ornamentation. And I know when we start off playing, we often say, use like a cut to differentiate between 2 repeated notes. Like when I start, oh, tap. That was funny. A cut or a tap. When I was playing the B, it's just the easiest, it's more natural for me to do. So you've got a chance to do more than just a cut, obviously. So a cut, a tap, throw a roll in on some of those. You can, if you want, hold some and throw a quick, brief vibrato in. Throw a slide in on a couple of them. I could have done that. All right, slow down the tap a little bit. So take all the ornaments that you feel like you're okay knowing and experiment with them. Experiment with a number of them on the repeat notes. But here's the trick. When you're playing the repeat notes, I notice for myself a tendency to slow down a little bit because I'm getting used to, I grew up tonguing everything like that. I'm getting used still, just over 2 years into my journey, I'm still getting used to ornamenting at pace repeated notes like that. And so I want you to hear, yes, I'm 2 years into my journey. I'm still getting used to it. Never give up on progress, on making progress forward. That's why these exercises are so important. Sure, you start playing the cup of tea and you're going, well, I got to work on that. Here's an exercise for it. So begin as slowly as you need to and then build your pace. But you see, it's not just putting a cut, tap, roll, a slide, vibrato, a brief vibrato even, on those repeated notes. It's also the opportunity to experiment with your ornamentation when you're descending on a run or ascending on a run, or when you're doing the brief climb ups. Those are also important. Sometimes I'd like you to experiment with an ornament at a peak, for example. Experiment with ornaments at a descent. Experiment with ornaments on the ascent and the jump. See, this exercise, again, early, I was like, this does a lot for you. This exercise gives you the opportunity to do what you can at the pace you can, and then try and pick up the pace, but still do a wide variety of things. Because ornamentation's not just on those repeated notes. You actually might want, I've heard people hold some of these repeated notes as you're more heavily ornamenting a descent to the repeated notes, and then a held repeated note actually becomes noticeable. And whereas if you heavily ornament the descent and then you heavily ornament the repeat, it just becomes part of the noise. It's not standing out. So think about ornamentation as a variety of expressions to highlight phrasings in a tune. And when you're experimenting with your ornamentation, you don't have to hurry. You can go at a steady pace. You can play as slowly as you need to in order to be able to experiment with ornamenting. And as you're ornamenting, think, do I like that? Do I not like it? Does it detract from the pace of the tune because it's a reel, or does it enhance it? So and I'm like, I threw something in on the F sharp, and then I hit the A, and then I slid up to the B. I felt like that was slowing me down, so I might not want to do that. Maybe I want to slide somewhere else. That's why maybe I slide on the repeated notes, and I do other ornamentation on the ascents and descents. See, you're thinking, you're playing, you're experimenting. And that's what this is for. Work on it, try things, and see how you do, my friends. It's really important for us. Experiment with this tune. Well, not tune. Experiment with this scale exercise. Use it to experiment with ornamentation, see what sounds good. Use it to work on your pace. And pick up a few different whistles, because that's always important. My friends, I hope this is helpful. If you're checking us out because of the exercise, please subscribe. We've got an amazing community of folks learning to play the whistle together. And until next time, this is Scott Shade. Happy whistling, my friends.